Are you looking for better health but feel a little overwhelmed with it all, thinking there might be something missing? Maybe you're looking for action steps to take that get to the real root of the issue and actually move the needle in your health. Here on the Cornerstone Integrative Healing Podcast, we will share the link between our physical, emotional, and spiritual health, all while pointing you to the one and only true healer, Jesus. I'm Carrie Cootie, your co-host. As a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner, I spent 20 years in the traditional healthcare world, and it was definitely long enough to know there's a huge need for preventative healthcare and holistic healing. I'm excited to have conversations around these topics with my co-host and friend, Jen.
Hey, I'm Jen Patriarca. God gave me this desire to help others with natural healing a long time ago. With more than 20 years of experience in the functional nutrition field, God decided it was time to join forces. Carrie and I are colleagues turned faithful partners in this mission God has put on our hearts. A mission for true healing, one that encompasses an integrative approach. With Jesus taking the lead, our aim is to point you toward Him as we help you peel back the layers. Through conversations, you can expect straightforward information on holistic health topics that include physical, emotional, and spiritual action steps that will create real change in your health, and honest conversations around the ups and downs that can come with healing. It's time to have joy in your life again and the energy to do all that God has called you to. Be sure to subscribe for new episodes every Monday.
Hey y'all, it's Carrie here, and we are back with a brand new series on the podcast. This new series is going to be all about stories of healing, and I'm really, really excited. I feel like God's given a lot of things He wants to share. He's been doing a lot of amazing things. So, with these next few episodes, we're going to be sharing a little bit about that. But today, I have two guests on with me. I have Tamara, and I also have Amanda, who's been on the podcast before. And we're just going to have a conversation around a great story of healing, and just in taking a personal story and following God's will and opening up a place that can really be healing for other people. So I'm excited for you to hear more about Tamara's story. And I think that will be a great place to start. If you're good with that, Tamara, just kind of start wherever you like. Just share your story and how the R.U.T.H House came to be and what the R.U.T.H House is.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me today. So a little bit about my story. I have an issue with alcohol and drugs. And I haven't lived with my parents since I was 14 years old. And I had a really good job at one time that sent me to treatment to get help for my alcoholism. I had many times where I would go to church and try to find something there. I was searching for something. I just didn't know what I was searching for. Mm. And a job sent me to this place called the House, and it was a house for women. And I stayed there 31 days, and I had never lived with women. And I really liked it. It just, I wasn't ready. I didn't know what it was about. I'm just in my spirit. I just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So during COVID, I had always wanted to recreate that house because I felt that it was very needed and very helpful to me. It planted seeds for me. But I didn't know how to do that. And during COVID, my church was shut down, like many people's churches. Mm-hmm. And I went and found a church that was open in another city. And they were having a women's Bible study, the book of Ruth. And it was each line. Like, we didn't just read the book. We studied each line, acted it out, put on the dressing for, as a widow, and just, acted it out, and I really got the heart for the story of redemption and how God was using that story for me to see that was the name of the house. Right. And I didn't even have a house. And so I went back home and I started doing my paperwork. I still didn't have a house. And it was probably in 2000. I don't remember how the time went, but I was doing a spiritual panel for another organization. And there was a gentleman on the panel, Jessica's husband, and he has some men's homes. And so I was asking him, what is my next step? I need some clarification. I need some help. And it was a day or two later, Jessica called me and said, hey, we would like to be in this with you. And from there, that was in October. And by February, we had purchased a home and was well on our way to remodeling it and getting it open for women that needed some redemption and need to find their Boaz. And not the physical form of Boaz like we all think and thought it, but Boaz as our Savior and our Father. And God had guided all of it.
Yeah.
That's a little bit how we got started.
Love that. Two things stood out to me. The first was that you went to the house where you stayed the 31 days, but you weren't ready for like maybe the full vision, but it was like something you just knew it meant something. And I just think, gosh, that's just how he works, right? It's like he put these things in our path, but even though we're not fully ready for them, like he's just preparing us all the time. I just love that. And then also, Jessica, who is kind of your partner in this, right? Yes. In a sense, I just love that, like, you knew you were supposed to do it, but it really didn't come to fruition until you got, who was supposed to join you. And it's like, we're supposed to do things in community. And she was probably waiting on you just like you were waiting on her.
Yes. I had tried it in other cities with other planning and zonings. Doors continued to be closed until it was right.
That whole story just gives me chills. Thank you for sharing that. It just reminds me, and I know we're going to talk more about it, but it just reminds me to, if he's put something in your heart, don't give up on it, because it could be weeks, it could be months, it could be years, but he's preparing you. And I'm sure you can look back and think, I just wasn't ready before it was time.
No. Can I ask a question, Tamara? When you went to that house for those 31 days, that was for your own recovery, right? And so you were still in the process of still healing yourself. And so you said you weren't ready. So I'm assuming that means that you, healing didn't completely happen like you had thought that it was going to. Correct. So how long from then until you got to what you would say like a healthy recovery space?
So that was probably in the late 90s. And I began to become sober in 2001.
Okay, so it was still some years.
Yes, and then that didn't start until a couple years ago.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's important that people understand that what you were there for yourself, and then it was quite a few years or some years before you were in recovery yourself, and then quite a while before you started this, because that time period is important. Is important for people to understand. Like, it can be a long time. That seed was planted, and it was still at the back of your head. Like, God was still saying, like, it's just not time, but you do you first. Like, you heal yourself.
Yes.
And so I just think that like, it was just really important. That was on my heart that we really pointed that out, because sometimes we think it needs to be quickly.
Oh, yeah. That happened quickly.
Yeah.
I love that, though. We can't give what we don't have. So, I mean, if you wanted to offer healing to other people, obviously you weren't the true healer, right? We know that you're pointing them to the one, but to facilitate that, we really can't do that until he's made us to where we can give what we have.
Yeah.
That's a good reminder. So why don't you share more about the R.U.T.H House? Like, what's the mission that God gave you for that, and the vision?
Okay, so our the R.U.T.H House is a 9 months to a year program, and many of the women that come to us, like many women, We have other issues, whether it be family violence or loss of children. I lost my children when they were 2, 4, and 6.
Mm.
So I have a heart to help women continue to hold their children as close as they can to them during this process. Now, the R.U.T.H House is not equipped for the children to be there, but it's very important for the mothers to find their healing before they can be there for their children.
Yeah.
So it's 9 months to a year, and we have 10 beds available right now. Hopefully in some time we'll gain more, but right now we have 10 beds.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, so I'm lost on the question.
No, that's okay. No, that's great.
Can I ask you to tell them what the R.U.T.H House stands for, like the actual?
Oh, absolutely. Because the R.U.T.H House, while I love the Ruth story, but I was at the gas pump one day and I was pumping gas, and it came from God. Obviously, it did not come from me. And Recovery Under the Healer. And I said, oh my God, that is the name of the house. So we are Recovery Under the Healer, R.U.T.H.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. When obviously you first think about the Book of Ruth, but then when Amanda sent me more, I was like, oh my gosh, it stands for, something else. So it definitely has the double meaning. But of course it all kind of goes together as well. When you said, when you were talking about the R.U.T.H House and how one of the goals is for them to help them find their Boaz, like kind of, really the Lord, it just makes me think about how like she laid at his feet and he covered her, and just, oh my gosh, that story is just amazing. Yeah. But, I just think about too, how she had to come with humility, and she had to be ready. Her heart had to be ready. So I know that there's, that's really probably what the whole goal is, right? Yeah.
A lot of correlation there.
Yeah.
You have to come and you have to ask for help, and it's difficult. Our egos don't want us to ask for help.
Yeah.
And we think it has to be a monetary, a financial help. We don't realize that it's a spiritual,
yeah. True. I mean, can you, do you have something?
No, I just wanted to point something out. So I just know, I love how this is, so organic, because the things that are standing out to you are different than the things that are standing out to me. And so before we move any farther, I just want people to, I know everyone doesn't watch the visual part of this. Some people do, and some people are just going to listen to the podcast. And so I just think it's really important to understand that if you're watching, that you saw how Tamara's face lit up when she talked about the meaning of the R.U.T.H House, and just how she gained, how God gave her, that. And if you're not watching and you're just listening, let me just tell you that it was a huge smile. You could tell the peace that came over her, and that is in essence where God wants us.
Yeah.
And so I just really wanted to point that out, because you could just tell instantly, it was just yes, I can. I would love to tell you what it means, right, and how I got it. And so anyway, I
love that. Thanks for pointing that out.
Mm-hmm.
And shouldn't we always be excited to say what God is doing, and not take any credit for it? She was like, I did not come up with this. God gave me this. Those are the best kinds of things. Yes. Let me tell you, I can talk your ear off for an hour, right?
Yeah. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out is that how she said, they have to come and ask for help. Right. And so our pride is just, it's hard. It's hard to really break those chains. Mm-hmm. And when the women come to this house, is that I think that I'm sure have an understanding of what they're coming to, but like so many times, we can't understand the gravity of what he's calling us to in the work that will be done until you're in it. Yeah. Right. And so I have had the privilege of working with these women for well, November will be a year, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And so that's where the connection kind of comes in full circle for all of us. But when she said, the other thing that she said was, they have eight women, or they have 10 beds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so and when she said that, like, I know in my head, like, a new one is coming this week, and like they're almost at capacity.
Yes.
And so that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And so anyway, I just wanted to
Definitely.
like, yeah, it's just so many things are standing out differently to us. And so I love that.
Me too. So glad you're on here. I would love, and maybe you both can speak to this, because I know Amanda obviously works closely with the women as well, about weekly now. So what kind of support is provided there for the ladies?
So, we have, do you mean support of?
Like, how do you help them? Once they come in, they're like, okay, I need help. And, I know they're there for 9 to 12 months or so. What are you guys doing with them during that time?
Okay, we have a detailed schedule. They do have a schedule. They have an awake time, prayer, journal time. We ask that they get a sponsor, kind of a mentor, and they work through different things there. It's a 12-step program, and we have a van that comes by, picks them up and carries them to a church for a ladies' Bible study. They do different 12-step meetings. We take them on Sundays to church. They're involved with a couple different churches, doing service work for churches, just trying to get them out into the community so that they can enlarge their spiritual life and be with people that can actually help them and nurture them and lift them, in this healing of a place of doom and gloom. Like, I'm never going to be able to be anything in my life.
Right.
I've been in that place, and to come out of it and to have people help you that don't even know you is, that's God's hands and feet. And that's what Jessica and I want to do. And I believe that's what the two of you want to do. We're here to help people however we can, because that's God's great commission, to bring everyone closer to Him. And in doing that, that's where they find their peace, but they don't realize that's what's happening. I didn't realize what was happening until way later down the road.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, you talked a lot about the spiritual element, which is obviously just paramount, but we heal on all levels. So there's your heart and spirit, your mind, your body. So, Amanda, you want to talk just a little bit about sort of what you do, maybe more so from a physical standpoint, physical, emotional, maybe?
Yeah, sure. So there is a lot of, you've heard Tamara talk about, the 12 step. And so there's a lot of AA things going on. Right. And so if you don't have a lot of knowledge of that, that's what it is. And so but there's so much to that in recovery in all areas, right? Like there's so much wealth there. And so they have, as they're going through, they have different, they're at different phases. We'll call it that. Right. And so then there's different things that are happening. And so, but for the physical and emotional standpoint, I can talk a little bit about that, because I get to go in and love. Like, I'm not even going to say I get to go, like, I get to go and love on them, because that's really what it is. It is truly the highlight of my week. And I'm so glad that it's at the beginning of my week on Mondays. Like, I look forward to it every single time. When I first started working with them, I was going once a month, and it, like, very quickly, I was like, Tamara, I got to come more. And I was like, okay, I got to come twice a month. And then a couple of months went by. I'm like, all right, I'm sorry, but like, we're going to have, like, we're going to figure out the, like, other things. Like I just need to come weekly. And because what I'm finding is that, like everything else, right? Like, I'm working with clients one-on-one, and it's that consistency. It's that consistency that helps us grow. And so with them, this is a little bit different, because I'm not working one-on-one with them. I'm working in a group setting. And so that allows for for different things to happen than I get to do with somebody on the phone. Right. And so when I'm going, I don't really think that they're aware of all the things that we're doing at the same time. But this week, interestingly enough, we talked a little bit about that because I shared a little bit of, they asked me a question. I don't even remember what the question was, but it was just like, no, and we're doing this. It's like, there's a reason for all of this. And so what I'm finding right now is that we are cooking something or making some kind of food almost weekly when I go now. Right. And so because it's sitting around the table, having community, sharing, like I'm asking questions when we're doing it, but sometimes they're not even like health questions, right? It's just like, tell me, like this week I asked, like, tell me that like one of the happiest memories you've ever had, or tell me something you were really thankful for this week, or tell me how you blessed somebody else. Right. And that was interesting for a lot of them because they're like, what do you mean? I can't help anyone right now. Some of them had something right away and other ones were like, no. But as we were talking, they were like, oh, wait, I did this. And I'm like, you are blessing people, like even just by your smile. Right. And some of them, they're not happy with how they look right now physically. And some of them, their teeth are not where they want them to be. And so there was a little bit of like, it was laughter, but that laughter is covering up pain. And so I just like, you still have a beautiful smile though. Like God loves you regardless. And I love you. Right. And so it's just that interaction that I get to have with them. And are we doing things that I'm doing with clients one-on-one? Yes, sometimes, but definitely in a different capacity because one thing that's also interesting about it is it's not a group setting that you're just like, you start here and then you end here, right? Because there's turnover. Sometimes they choose to leave. Sometimes new people are coming in. And so that brings its own challenges. And because I see that as a challenge, I can only imagine how that is for Tamara and Jessica, right? Like there's just, it's constantly of, yes, people can come in and join where you're at, but you're having to like really learn about them quickly. And so thank goodness I'm really noticing that a gift that God has given me is like intuition and just like reading people really well. And I'm seeing that play out 100% right now in this setting because I'm looking for those cues and seeing like, okay, because that's how I pray for them weekly.
Yeah.
Right. And so I can see like the heaviness of their heart. And then I get to see when I come back, like a couple of weeks later, and like they're different. They're you can just tell there's a lightness to them. They're smiling more. Like there's just more peace and like there's a schedule. Like they know I'm coming weekly. I think that that's helpful for them. And so, yeah. And I ask them to try things new all the time. Sometimes it makes them uncomfortable. And sometimes they don't like the food that I bring, but what I will say is that they're trying it now. Now it's not like, no, I don't really like that. Their answer now is, I haven't liked it in the past, but I'm going to try it.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so the emotional and the physical part is all happening simultaneously. But it's like, I just love how God is working through all of it. And I'm just so honored to be able to be a part of that.
Man, every time you share, what's been going on with your weekly visits or whatnot, I'm just like, wow, God is truly using you. And I mean, it just reminds me of, I know Tamara and Jessica started, the R.U.T.H House, but just, I'm sure, how you've come along and there are others that really want to do more and more and feel called to that. And, it's just a reminder for us all, like, if you feel a calling to go do something, even if they're not asking for help, like go ask, right? Just, hey, God asked me to ask you. And so I'm doing it. I'm going to be obedient. And I can almost guarantee they're not going to turn you down because it really does take a village. I mean, that's what community is all about.
Yes. Yes. I had, we knew we wanted to do some nutrition, because, you can take when you're drinking and doing drugs, you don't eat a lot. And if you do eat, you don't eat healthy. So we knew that we needed a nutrition. And I reached out on Facebook. I was looking for a nutritionist. And two people contacted me back. And one was telling me about Amanda. And Jessica and I met with her, and we knew right away we loved her, and she's been a great asset. You're so correct that it does take a village, but we do have to ask. And years ago, I would never have asked for anything like that,
Yeah.
For myself, let alone for others,
Right. Yeah.
I'd like to say I love others, and, I love others way more today than I did before. And then another thing I wanted to tell you about was once they get to like 60 days or so, we allow them to start reaching out for a part-time job. And so we're helping them gain entrance back into the community, and by doing some of those service positions and, helping out at churches or whatnot, that is kind of getting them into the swing of things, because some haven't worked in a while, and some have done jobs that they can't do today. They're not recovery oriented jobs.
Yeah.
So, and it's just, so then we also have them start paying 25% of their income, which is not a lot, but it helps them feel as though they're giving back to the program that gave to them freely, and the community is just amazing how they've stepped up and helped out. I mean, we're done by donations, great donations from the house to the repairs to the electric bill to everything. And it just amazes me how God just lines it all up for you. Like, do I know how to do this? No, but I know who does. And I pray about it and I ask for help. And there's the help. It just blows my mind.
Amen. That's a good segue. So, to let the listeners know. So, of course, this is just an amazing story that we wanted to share with you. But it's even more special to us because it was probably back in April. Amanda and I were walking and talking, and she actually shared this devotion with me, and it was about setting big goals. And long story short, we've decided together we're going to walk the Georgia portion of the Appalachian Trail. And that was going to be our big goal. But I think it was even simultaneously, it was like, well, we're not just going to do this just to do it. We want to do it to raise money. And so we have chosen to raise money for the R.U.T.H House. And so we're just really excited to be able to give to them freely, like they give to others. And we know God's going to provide. Amanda, we were kind of discussing on the amount, and Amanda was like, okay, I heard God say $1,000 a mile. And so we are walking 78.3 miles. So that is our goal, to raise that amount of money for the R.U.T.H House. And so I think you can see that, God's going to use it, right? He's going to use it in ways that they don't probably even know right now. And so there's just such a need for this work, especially Christ-centered rehabilitation. I know that's, obviously I'm grateful that there's other rehab places out there, but we want to point them to the one true healer. So just really thankful for the work that you do, Tamara, you and Jessica and Amanda. So if there was one kind of vision for the future that you might, use the extra money for, is there something that comes to mind?
So there's two things. One is a van to carry everyone.
Yeah.
But at the moment we have two smaller vans. So it would be a van to carry everyone together.
Yeah.
And as a second, another house for like a 3/4 house, so that maybe they're done with this portion, but they're not quite ready to be out on their own yet. And they can rent rooms in the 3/4 house where they're still connected with us, still connected with the R.U.T.H House, but they're more on their own.
Yeah. That sounds like it much needed, both of those things, definitely. And gosh, and it is just amazing how God provides and gives us, and we're like, well, I don't know what I would do with the rest. I know he already has plans for it, right? He already knows and he already has provided and he already has gone before. So I am just so expectant for what he's going to do on this hike with
Yes.
this money.
Yes.
Like there's just, so if you're listening, please pray for the R.U.T.H House. They just covet your prayers. I know that's just one of the best things we can do to help support a mission like that. Please pray for our hike. We're planning on. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, so as you're talking about the hike, right? Like, so I wanted to kind of set the stage for, like, as it's getting, we're getting closer, like we're going at the beginning, September 1st.
Yeah.
And so we haven't, Carrie and I, summer have been a little crazy with lots of different things.
Yeah.
But from here on, like it will be like talked about continuously because, and it's not about us. Like, this isn't about us at all. This is about like what God can do for the R.U.T.H House.
Yeah.
And like, and through all of our stories together. And so the girls have just recently in the last 2 weeks learned that we're doing this because like it just came up in conversation. I don't even know why it came up in conversation. And they said, "You're doing what?" And well, we've been talking about walk. That's why we've been talking about moving, like, right. Like I'm really encouraging them, like, you got to be moving. And so some of them are doing some, like some are walking now and some are doing some, some movement in their room with a yoga mat and different stretches. And they're all kind of at different places in their healing, like all of us are.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm constantly encouraged, like, you have to be doing something, right? And it's kind of like the whole, when you are going through recovery, sugar and smoking are usually the two things that are your next outlet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about coming to the roots of those problems and or those things. I won't say problems, but those things. And so we've been talking about, like, okay, sugar, like we got to change. And so we've been making some healthy desserts, if you will. Okay. And then the smoking, we've been talking, not doing too much with it yet, but just talking about, like, it has to be a choice, right? And so, like, everything is a choice. We all have choices. Life is hard. We get to choose our hard. And so, but they're aware of these things. And so from all of that, as we're talking about moving, I just told them, like, even I have to go outside of my comfort zone. Right.
Yeah.
And they just start crazy. They think that that's crazy. They're like, no, I'm pretty sure you're good at all things. No, I'm not. I am not. I am a high energy. I love life. I'm joyful, like all these things. Yes. But I have to really go to God about things. And so I told them about this hike that we're doing. And they were like, "You're going to do what?" And they're like, "You're camping in the wilderness." Absolutely. Yeah. And I said, "I'm going to need you to pray we don't get attacked by a bear, because it's really something Carrie's worried about." and so yeah. And so they were like, "Oh my word." Some of them have, like, this is just a radical idea to them. And so they're like, "Wow, okay, well, what are you sleeping in?" "A tent." And they're like, "You're doing this for 7 days?" "Yeah, 7 days." And so, they're just walking for like 20 and 30 minutes, and they're like 12 miles a day for 7 days. Absolutely. And so, but I told them about this hike, and it's when I connected it to them that this is actually turned into a fundraiser to give money to the R.U.T.H House. Mm-hmm. Just the looks on their face of like, "Wait, you're doing something crazy and you're doing it for us?" It just was like, it's making my heart, like, even now, like, I will not forget those looks. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we never talked about the amount. Like, that's not even an issue. Right. It was just like, that's what it's for. And so, and I told them, like, we're going to do some recording, and, we're going to, like, there's just so many things, because there's going to be lessons learned in this all the way around. I'm like, Carrie and I might be crying one night. Like, I don't know why we thought about doing this was a good idea. The other nights it might be like, "Oh my goodness, this is so beautiful." I'm like, who knows? But it's going to be real. Yeah. And what they said is, "Can you do a YouTube channel so we can watch it at night?" And so that they could go on and know how to pray for us daily.
I love that.
And I thought, oh my goodness. They want to be able to be a part of it in some way. And I'm like, you just really want to see if I'm crying. That's what you want to do.
I'm crying right now.
Oh,
And so just the joy of like, we want to be able to be a part of it with you. And that's how we can be. So we can be knowing how to pray for you guys for the next day. And I just thought, and I've thought about that so much, like how beautiful that they want to be able to be a part of it in a way that they can. So I said, yes, I don't know how we're doing it, but yes.
And Amanda, that's a great point, that so many people think that alcoholism and drug addiction, people are just off and not loving and kind. And so many stereotypes to that. And this shows you they are loving and kind. They do have a heart. Just got to soften it. And that's
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Only God does that.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Truly. So I just wanted to they really, now they know, and they are like, how can they invest? And so they asked me about it this week, like, hey, did you walk this week? You better believe it, in the hotness, like I was sweating.
Right. Oh gosh, I love that. So yes, we will put all the things in the show notes or the description of this video so you can follow along, so you can pray. We'll give, details about the house and whatnot. And if you feel led to donate, please do. The money will go straight to them, of course, straight to the cause. We really just want to support them in any way that we can. And so this is the way that we feel led to, but of course, always prayer, and just so thankful that Amanda felt the call to go in and support these ladies, because I know she's such a blessing to them, just like she is to me. So really just thankful for this time together, ladies. I just am so excited about what God's doing at the R.U.T.H House. And I just pray that he would continue his work there, and that we could help out in this way. I'm excited to see what he does with the extra funds. Thank you guys for being on.
Thank you so much for your time. Really, it really is an honor that you gave us your time today.
Thank you, ladies.